Hi everybody, welcome to the home of Crybaby Performance. Sorry about the delay, we had a couple technical difficulties going live. Darlene usually does all our live footage, and today we have Demi here doing it. So today, the purpose of the seminar is to go over the new tech manual, and we're going to tell you guys all the changes. We're going to go over all the tools. And then we have a UT3 motor here that we've never seen before. It just got dropped off this morning. We're going to disassemble it, and we're going to check all the tolerances on it, and we're going to see where it falls. In this seminar, we're going to go over the manuals, all the changes in the manuals. We're going to go over all the tech tools that you need, the go and no-go gauges. We're going to go over restrictor plates, exhaust. We're going to do on the motor, once we get the motor up here on our bench, we're going to start with a compression test. We're going to do timing. We're going to look at the carb, and then we're going to start disassembling the motor, looking at the cylinder head, checking max lift, cam timing. We're going to lap valves, do piston pop-up, zero deck, and we're going to do all the things. We're going to show you all the things you need to know to rebuild your lawnmower engine, quarter midget engine. So I have the two rule books right here, the old one and the new one. The nice thing is all the new rules are in red, and I have the old rule book where I kind of wrote down what the old numbers were so we can compare some of the old numbers to the new numbers. And the new rule book is about 4 or 5 pages shorter. I haven't exactly found out everything that was taken out, but this is a better start than we've had in the past. At least we can see the changes in the red, and we don't have to hunt for them through the entire book. So just starting out, if you have your manual in front of you, page 4, I'm going to read a few statements out of here. This tech manual outlines modifications and procedures that are permitted. Modifications and procedures beyond this manual should not be made or used without first contacting the governing body for approval. Okay, that statement, you're not going to get an answer from any of these governing bodies. I don't even know why that statement's in there. That's the scare statement of don't touch anything. But if it's not in this manual, you're allowed to do it. So we're going to go into this manual a little deeper. Few little things, you got to look for these words, like in page 5, section 8, exhaust. The maximum flange thickness is 250, so now you're not allowed any grind marks past the 250. In the old manual, it said you were allowed grind marks. So that's kind of a technical item. If you look in the end of your exhaust pipe, which we'll do later, and you have grind marks past the 250, that pipe is now not legal. The cylinder head studs can now be helicoiled, which is a good thing. The flywheel cover can now be any color you want. I guess, let's see, Honda flywheel cover can be any color. It used to have to only be red or black, I believe. Now it can be any color. Drain plugs too, you can use any drain plug in the motor. Sometimes the plastic ones break off, so that's okay. This is a new rule. This one's kind of a big one. All dimensional specifications in this tech manual will have a plus or minus of 1/1000th of an inch. Before, they would DQ you for 1/1000th of an inch, so you can look at that as a good thing because they're giving you latitude of 1/1000th of an inch. Problem is, a dial caliper is good to within 0.02 plus or minus. This is 1/1000th, so there's still a little bit of arguing in this rule. And some people will take this 1/1000th of an inch to mean, hey, I can take 1/1000th more off everything. And technically, you could take 1/1000th, under or over on everything. But it does say except the restrictor plate and camshaft dial indicator, which we'll get to that later. Then one of the biggest things they've changed is the timing. So last year on a UT3, the timing was 17 degrees, 20 degrees in the junior class, and now they've kind of rearranged the order of the timing. We're going to get into this when we start timing the motor. But at this point, it says that instead of giving us a solid number of 1200 or 2000, which the drill can be set to, they give us a range of 1200 to 2000, and then, you know, timing must meet 20 degrees. Must meet 20 degrees, which is an interesting word in there, and never exceed 20.5 degrees. So basically what this rule is saying is at 2000 RPM, you want to be at 20.5 degrees. 20.5, I don't know where the 0.5 is. They don't really make 0.5 keys. You know, they make keys that are solid numbers, 20, 19, 18, but you're allowed a half degree. We'll get into that more. And then this rule, this is procedure for checking ignition timing. This isn't talking about, this is the procedure for checking it. So also in here, there's some other kind of goofy stuff. The maximum coil leg is 35 thousandths. So if they're checking timing and you have that coil gap at 30, this apparently says you have to move it to 35. And then it lists some equipment down here, a drill capable of spinning the engine. Let's just call it out. It's the DeWalt DWD 520. That's the one that has the 1200 speed and the 2000 RPM speed. RPM tachometer, they never had that in there before, but I kind of know why that's in there. Degree wheel, pointer, and a piston stop. You know, we used a Mr. Gasket 6120 wheel because that's a large wheel and it gives you a real accurate number. The timing light, they do a good job there. They call out the Flaming River part number. That's the one we use. That's pretty much the only one on the market, I believe. But the other inaccuracies are, you know, they should be calling out using a strap plug, BKR 5E, but they don't call that out. That's an inconsistency. And again, like I covered, at 2000 RPM, you can't exceed 20.5. But another engine builder pointed out to me, the interesting thing is, when I said before, the ignition timing must meet 20 degrees. Well, he pointed out anything lower than 20 degrees technically is a DQ as well, because it must meet 20 degrees. So all these motors that are out there that are 17 degrees and 18 degrees, those motors, technically you could get a DQ for that because it doesn't not meet the 20 degrees. So that's, you know, kind of put in there a little bit goofy. All right, so we're going to move on from timing. We'll come back to that and explain more later. Air filter adapter, they changed some dimensions there, which we'll get into that later. Emulsion tube, they made some clarifications in the emulsion tube. Again, the shroud can be any color. Okay, this one's interesting. Camshaft profile inspection, which we're going to do camshaft profiling later in the day when we get to it. But number 5 is kind of interesting. One profile checkpoint on the intake and one profile checkpoint on the exhaust out of specification is legal. That's interesting because one of the numbers never came into spec, so now that'll allow you to get more out of your camshaft, because now that one number, you can toss out that one number, it's going to come in a lot nicer and you're going to get a little bit more out of your engine with the camshaft profile. So they kind of corrected that. They give some new minimum dimensions on the head, which we're going to get into that when we start measuring it. We're also going to check the valve springs. That'll be interesting because a valve spring out of the box, brand new, is technically not legal. They come in at, I don't know what it is, 17. And so we'll get into that. We'll show you how to check your valve springs. And then the flywheel, you know, of course they updated that because there were two magnet colors. There was a light and a dark green color, so both of those are now legal. Funny they don't talk about the weight of the flywheel, but we'll get into that. Camshaft, they give you a part number for it now. The only legal camshaft, which again is the UT2 camshaft. We'll talk about that a little bit. I'm not sure why we're using a UT2 camshaft and a UT3. That makes it harder for you guys that are home builders. And this manual is technically the manual for the engine. So you guys that want to build your engine at home can follow this manual and be able to get all the information that you need. So a few more dimensional changes. Connecting rod can be honed. This one's a good one. The oil drain hole between the lifter bores can be drilled out to any size because these motors starve for oil. So that's a really good addition. So they did clean it up a lot. I shouldn't say a lot. They cleaned it up, and we will examine that a lot more throughout the day. And so right now we're going to go into wherever James is. You out there, James? We're going to go on to the inspection tools. So of course everybody has a caliper, so you'll want one of these calipers. These are dial ones, but we're going to be using. All right, we're ready to go into tools. You want me to go into tools, or are you going into tools, James?
I can go into tools.
All right, so let's move on to some of the tools that we're going to be using today. All right, we're going to go